Om Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. O God, please lead us from unreality to the reality, from darkness to the light, and from mortality to the immortality. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, we were discussing Patanjali Yoga Sutra probably 2 weeks before. In between, previous week we discussed regarding the philosophy of motherhood. I think before that had gone to Europe too. As a result, lectures at different places in Europe, so I couldn't take the class. So after 2 weeks again, we are resuming the Ashtanga Yoga part 3. The Ashtanga Yoga, in my first talk itself, I had given what is the place of Ashtanga Yoga in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. It is this Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs of yoga, is the part of Patanjala's Yoga Sutra. He is a great sage who lived 2500 to 3500 years before, and is a great yogi too. And he has written sutras, aphorisms on yoga. So in that, there is a Ashtanga Yoga. This Ashtanga Yoga was meant for the preliminary or the Manda Adhikari, who is not such capable, who is not strong in his mind, in his body, or in his pursuit of spiritual practices or yoga practices. For him, Ashtanga Yoga was prescribed. But unfortunately, sometimes or most of the times, we have become so weak. For us, Ashtanga Yoga itself is becoming a big thing, or it is becoming the nightmare like. Oh, there are so many things to be practiced. May be possible, but it is very hard task. It is very difficult. Almost it is impossible. Sometimes people keep saying. Now, why do we need yama and niyama? In my previous class, I did discuss about yama, and the 5 parts of or 5 limbs of yama was discussed. Why do we need these things, yama and niyama? If one has to be fit enough in spiritual practice, in spiritual pursuit, then he has to have a control over his body and over his mind and over his senses. Otherwise, no success is possible either in the mundane life or materialistic life and also in spiritual life. Just you can observe. Even I would like to excel in my studies. Probably I would like to get 10% result. Or I would like to stand first, get first rank or gold medal at the university level. If someone of us think that and have a nice merrymaking, go here and there, have a tour, have a picnic, internet surfacing, then spending lot of time with watching television. If you are doing all these things, I may get some good marks, no doubt, maybe first class or distinction, that is 75 percentage, but I will not be able to stand first at the university level and get gold medal. One is to get it, I should love the subject, and also I should work hard. I should study and I should have a mastery over the subject. Then only I'll be able to stand first at the university level, isn't it? So if I have to work hard, that means what? I should have a control over my sleep. I should have a control over my body, my mind, my senses. Then only the success is possible even in the mundane life. Then what to speak about spiritual life? If that is the case in mundane life, then what to speak of spiritual life? In spiritual life, it is utmost important to have a control over body, mind, and senses. It is a prerequisite. It is a very base. It is a foundation for the spiritual practices. Because the mind and senses are wonderful weapons, wonderful instruments given by God or nature for our success, for our achievement. But at the same time, if these things are not under control, what will happen? What they will do, they will pull us, they will drag us down. So, as a prerequisite, as a base for our spiritual practice and also mundane life, to be safe and to be successful, we need a control of mind and control of senses. And this control of mind and senses are told in yama and niyama. So I think by this time now you should be able to understand, you should be clear that why do we need yama and niyama, or why do we need to practice yama and niyama? Swami, you are a monk, maybe it's required for you. Or I'm a lay person, I'm a married person, I'm a lay person. Do I also need yama and niyama? Yes. This yama and niyama is not only for monks or not only for people who has taken the spiritual life. It is common for everyone, and it is more imperative to spiritual life, the people who is pursuing the spiritual path. Now, what are the five limbs or the five parts of niyama? Janma hetun kamya dharman nivartya moksha hetoho nishkama dharme niyamayanti prerayanti iti niyamaha. That is the definition of niyama given by the sages. Since they help us, since they inspire us, they induce us towards final perfection, that is, final goal of life, or that which helps us, which inspires us, which induces us towards achieving the final perfection or the goal of life. That is what niyama. Niyama means it is not mere rules. No, it protects us, it motivates us, it helps us, it inspires us towards what? Towards attaining the final perfection. You can say moksha, mukti, kaivalya, nirvana, whatever you say, fine, or samadhi, you may say. Towards it, it also helps. And of course, for our day to day things also, it helps. Then, what are the five parts or the five sets of niyama? Five parts of niyama is shaucha, that is purity or cleanliness, santosha, contentment, tapas, austerity, swadhyaya, study of the scriptures or the repetition of the divine name, then Ishvara Pranidhani, Ishvara Pranidhana, that is devotion to the Lord or devotion to the divine. Ete niyamaha. These are the five parts of niyama. One is cleanliness or purity, the other is contentment, the third is austerity, fourth is study of the scriptures or repetition of the divine name, and the fifth one is devotion to God or surrendering towards God. To God is what it. These five things consists of niyama. Now the question will come first: cleanliness. I think most of us, we know the saying that cleanliness is next to godliness. A Christian saint has told, cleanliness is next to godliness. If you maintain the purity, if you maintain the cleanliness externally and internally, then you are fit to achieve God, or you are fit to reach God, or you will be capable of having a God's vision or God's realization. And also in the spiritual life, if you see, the external purity and internal purity is very, very important. And even if you say in the mundane life, if the environment where we are living, if it is clean, then our health is will be fine. Hygiene, we speak. We should nicely do vacuum cleaning in the room or the place where we stay. We have to keep things, everything clean, and we have to take bath daily almost, and we have to use the washer clothes, hygiene clothes, so that what happens? So that our health is taken care first and foremost. And the other is also when I'm clean, when the surroundings are clean, then my mind becomes also calm and clean. My mind becomes pleasant. It feels happy. Imagine there is so much dirt and so much things are there here and there. Sometimes bachelors, especially, they use like they throw a pant, trouser somewhere, shoes somewhere, socks somewhere, plates somewhere. Everything will be in pulmail in the house or in the room where they are staying, and they are trying to stay in between. If that is the case, then the mind will not be clear and the mind will not have a composed nature, or it will not have a peace. It will be also got of confusion will be there always. So external impurity, external cleanliness is very, very important for most of us. And it is a part of spiritual life. Once you keep on maintaining this cleanliness, external cleanliness, slowly, slowly, it becomes your part of life, so much so that it becomes an habit. But it is very, very important, and it is conducive to concentration of the mind. It is also conducive to spiritual life. So, how this external cleanliness can be maintained? We all know that keeping the place, the environment, the surroundings where we are living, to keeping clean, and having taking a bath, regular bath, using the wash clothes regularly, and using the things which is very clean and neat and tidy. These things, by these things, one can have the external cleanliness. Now, when we say purity or cleanliness, it is not only external purity or external cleanliness, it also includes internal purity or internal cleanliness. What is that internal purity? Purity from what? Purity from impure things. What are these impure things? Pure, purity from the impure things, this can be lust, greedy, pride, prejudice, ostentation, then anger, all these things, emotions, wrong thoughts, bad emotions, all these things are impure, which creates an impurity in our mind, in our emotional level, at mental level, at spiritual level, at thought level, at intellectual level. So all these things should be checked. So having a right thought, good thought, always exercising the mind towards good thoughts, right thoughts, pure thoughts is very, very important. And for that, what you have to do it? So always try to encourage your mind, have a right thought, have a good thought, and have a pure thoughts, have a chasteful thoughts. These things has to be done, and all the wrong things, wrong ideas, wrong emotions, wrong thoughts has to be checked and has to be controlled and has to be nullified. By this, one can have the purity of the mind. Once the purity of the mind is possible, then control of the mind becomes very, very easy. How? Say, for an example, now there is a lake, and in the lake, the water has been stirred. If the water has been stirred, then what happens? Then you'll not be able to see the bottom of the lake. Whereas now the lake is calm and there is no stirment, since the water is pure and clean, then you'll be able to see the base of the lake. Why? Because the water is clean, it is not muddy or it is not been stirred. So similarly, when we maintain this purity, what happens? We'll be able to control the mind properly, and it can reflect the consciousness properly. It can reflect the self-consciousness. And say, for an example, now there is a beautiful glass here. Since the glass is pure, it doesn't have any most of the dust. That's the reason it is able to reflect the sun rays. Say, for imagine if it has been covered with the dust, it is stinky with maybe some oily things or with rubbish things and all, then definitely full amount of sunlight I will not be able to get. Why? Because the glass layer is covered with full of dust. If you remember, in the olden days, they used to use lamps. For the lamps, they used to have a chimney. If the chimney is if in the chimney, if there is a black soot deposition inside, then how much ever the lamp is strong, the light is strong, we were not able to get the complete light. So in the olden days, especially women, they used to take before the evening, they used to clean with the old cloth or the tissue paper the whole chimney. so that all that black soot and dirt, whatever is there, everything was removed. Then when you light the lamp and place the chimney with the light, what happens? Then complete reflection, or the most possible reflection of that lamp, of the light, was we were able to use it. We were able to make use of it. Why? Because the chimney medium was clean. It was pure. So similarly, the mind is also beautiful container. If the container is clean, then whatever the content you put inside, that will be also clean and it will be fit for usage. Say for an example, now you took a piece of cake and you placed in a plate, but unfortunately the plate was dirty. Since the plate was dirty, even though cake was eatable, when you place into that, then it becomes unfit for eating. Oh, the plate was dust and it had dirty things, and you placed the cake there, so I can't eat. Suppose if the plate was clean, then you kept the piece of cake there, then there is no problem for us to eat the cake afterwards. After some time, and after an hour or after a day, even, there is no problem. So the container should be pure, then the contained will be also can be pure. So the mind is a beautiful container. Then it has, if it is clean, then the content also will be clean. The content is what? Thoughts, emotions, ideas. For an example, now you keep on thinking, let me love the people, let me love the people, let me love the people, whatever it may be, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, you start loving the people. You start speaking with the people with the gentleness and all. Now, for some reason, just you can make an experiment with yourself. With you are encouraging some anger thoughts. You are thinking angrily on someone or yourself or whatever. So, whoever comes, just a small mistake, small thing, immediately you will have a hot exchange of hot words with him or her. Why? Because your mind had a angry thoughts. As a result, the relations will be hampered. So that's the reason the mind cleanliness and the purity, external and internal impurity, is very, very important. Now, the second part of the niyama is Santosha. What is Santosha? Santosha means it is not happiness. Santosha means it is contentment. Buddha was content. He was a beggar. He was a king, no doubt. He was a prince, but he afterwards he left his home and earth. He renounced everything. But at the same time, he was so contented, the whole world came and fell at his feet. Even Jesus, he was born to a probably, his father, Joseph, was not a very rich man. He was a poor man. But still, Jesus was a contented man. Similar thing we can see all with the great people, maybe like Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda. They never had any riches, but still they were contented people. Sometimes we may have got hundreds thousand euros, but we are not contented. I want this, I want that. Our wants, desires, it keeps on increasing, then there is no end to it. I may be happy, I may be unhappy, but I'm not contented. So contentment is a very rich virtue, a beautiful virtue one has to practice. If you have to have a control over the mind. If your mind is turbulent, if your mind is agitated, if your mind is pushed with the desires, then you will not be able to have a control over the mind. Means simple living and high thinking. That is the best for to practice contentment. Whatever is necessity, let me try to get, let me try to acquire, and let me make use of it. But I've got so many wishes. I've got wishes. There is no end to my wish. There is no end to my desires. Then what happens? Then my mind becomes disturbed. My mind starts craving for it. If I get it, I am happy. If I don't get, I am unhappy. Again, there will be reactions for that. So by practicing contentment, one can be happy and one can be free from the clutches of senses and from the clutches of the worldly things. For example, he may be a king, Alexander, for an example, or Julius Caesar. I think Romeo, or Nero, one of the great king who comes in Rome or Greek Empire. They were all great kings, but they were not contented. They had so much vigor, so much valor, so much intelligence. Fine, they might be happy, I don't know, but they were not contented. Whereas there was Aristotle or Plato or Socrates, they were not probably rich people, but at the same time, they were content. So many times we suffer because not from the lack of necessities, but because of our wants and desires. Because our wants and desires are so much, how much ever we have, we are not happy. We are not peaceful. We are not, neither we are happy nor we are peaceful. Because whatever is required, it is not that we don't have. Whatever we want, we don't have. So there is a big difference between necessities and wants. So that you have to understand. So if you want peace, then you start practicing contentment. And Swami Vivekananda, in one of his lectures, he says, in India, the sages, they tried to reduce their necessities so much so, with the bare minimum necessities, they were able to lead their life. Jain monks were known for it. Buddhist monks, few Buddhist monks were known for it. I think in Christian, tradition, even the desert fathers were known for it. That's the reason one of the woe they take Christian fathers is poverty. And even Saint Francis of Assisi is one of my most favorite saint. That's the reason often I keep on telling about him. He was also contented. And if you see what he had, probably a rosary, a Bible, and one or two, just a cloth which was torn or which was very rough and which was poor in quality. But he was contented because his bare minimum things were his bare minimum necessities were very little. So Swami Vivekananda says that in the society, in Indian society especially, they try to reduce the needs in life. But in the West, and in generally, Swamiji has told, in the West, they keep on increase their needs so much so that that became a burden. That is a reason we should think how much is required, so much only we should have. Then you will be content. If whatever you get extra, that's fine. It is not that you should not aspire for it, you should not try for it. I'm not saying that, but be aware of it. You may have to pay the price for it. Now, after this Santosha, that is simple living and high thinking, then the next comes tapas or austerity. Tapaha, tapaha, tapa means the word tapa means which burns my desires, which burns my impurities, which burns the things in my life so that in my body and mind, and so that I will become pure and I will be able to have a God realization or self realization. Say, for an example, when you prepare an iron or steel, and so many ores are put and the process has been done, and so many Fahrenheit, maybe 100, 500, 800, 1200 Fahrenheit, it has been boiled and all the impurities are removed. Then you will get a pure iron or pure steel. Similarly, even for gold, extraction of gold is also done like that. So, like that, when the soul, when the mind is been burned in this tapas austerity, what happens? It becomes pure, it becomes fit to receive the blessings of the divine, or to experience the consciousness, undivided consciousness. That is what we mean samadhi, to experience that consciousness. And which burns and which creates uneasiness. So tapas is not always pleasant. It can create uneasiness, but the most of the time, but inconvenience it can create, no doubt, but it helps us to control over the mind. Say, for an example, hot and cold weather. We have got hot weather, we have got cold weather too. So, do you accept in equanimity? When you are hot, don't keep on complaining and accept it and go along with it. And it is cold. How much ever possible, try to bear it and use one or two layers and go ahead. So probably I think one of the monk, the apostle of Sri Ramakrishna, that is Swami Vivekananda. During summer, he used to, you can imagine in India, in summer means it will be too hot. He used to use 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. Means definitely it would have been a lot of suffocation, lot of sweating and all this. But he used to use it. Why? It is an austerity. And probably in the winter, probably he was using very less clothes. In the summer, he was using more clothes, and in the winter, very less clothes. Opposite. We use hardly, I mean, one cloth or 1 or 2 layers only in the summer, and in winter 3 4 layers we may use. But whereas Swami Vijnanananda, the apostle of Sri Ramakrishna, he was just opposite. He was using. Why? That is an austerity. I mean, it is not that everyone has to practice this. At least we should bear it. I mean, we should forbear all these things. That's what I mean. Hot, cold, then happiness, unhappiness, praise and blame, gain, profit and loss. All these dualities, they are supposed to come and they are supposed to go in our life. So, can you forbear it? That is the greatest tapas, greatest austerity. Once a priest was doing a worship in Mathurnath Vishwas' house. Mathurnath Vishwas was a rich landlord and he was the temple owner of the Dakshineshwar temple complex where Sri Ramakrishna lived most of his time. So this priest came and approached Sri Ramakrishna. Look, this rich landlord Mathurnath Vishwas has been impressed by you. I think you are done some black magic on him. You know some art of that black magic, so that you have got a control over him. So whatever you say, he is listening. So kindly teach me that art or that um, particular vidya education, so that I will be also have a black magic on him, so that let me also get more and more riches. Now Sri Ramakrishna laughs at him and he said, look, I don't know anything and I don't know any of this black magic and I have not used any black magic on him. Then why does he listen to you? He says it is mother's will, or it is his, I don't know, he has found something in me, so probably he's believing in me or following me, but I have not done anything. But this priest never understood the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. He never believed also. He was go on pester. He went on pestered him. Please give me, please tell me, please give me, please tell me. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, my dear, I don't have anything like that. Then that priest was very angry and annoyed and angry, and he kicked Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna simply forbade. He bade it. If he had informed Mathurnath Vishwas would have killed him, that priest, because out of respect towards Sri Ramakrishna. But Sri Ramakrishna knew this, that's the reason he kept quiet. After when that priest left, after a few years, Sri Ramakrishna, while discussing something, accidentally, just he mentioned about it. Even then, Mathur was very furious and he said, you would have told at the time, I would have chop his head. But see, so much power, spiritual power Sri Ramakrishna had. He could have cursed easily that priest, Brahmin priest, but he kept quiet. He forbade everything. So in all the great people life, if you see, they used to forbear. Even, for an example, Christ. When Jesus Christ was crucified, when they were nailing and all, we all know that he was praying for God, oh Father in the heaven, these people, they don't know what they are doing. Please forgive them. Please forgive their sin. Please forgive their mistake. It is one is compassion, the other is forbearance, forbearing. All that pain, all that whatever the pain they gave physically and mentally, all these things, I mean, Jesus Christ, he bore everything silently. And it gives a tremendous power, it gives a tremendous energy. That is what tapas. And in the desert fathers, Jains in India, they do a lot of fasting. And even in Hindus also, monks also, they do a lot of fasting. Why? Because of control over the taste, control over the tongue, control over the body, control over the mind or sense organs or sense craving and sense gratification. So one can have a control on all these things. That is the reason they take out this. And in Dharmashastras, Indian scriptures, there is a called two types of vratas, fasting rites, that is Chandrayana and Krutra. Means we know full moon day and new moon day. From new moon day to full moon day, slowly the size of the sun, I mean size of the moon, it keeps on increasing. Sometimes it is crescent, sometimes 3/4, sometimes full. After full moon day to no moon day, if you see, then it keeps on reducing, isn't it? So similarly, when no moon day or new moon day, then a person is not supposed to eat anything. Then the next day, little food. So as moon evolves, as moon bigger grows in its size, so they can take a little more and food. In the full moon day, they can take the complete meals. And from the next day again, the size of the moon keeps on reducing. Then their intake of the food should also keeps on reducing. So this type of Chandrayana and Kruchra, these were the two rites were prescribed by the Indian scriptures or Hindu scriptures, Vedas or Dharma Shastra. Why? It was all to have a control over the body, to control over the mind and sense objects and sense organs. So it will give a tremendous power in an individual person. But in Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful definition for these things. Krishna discusses this penance or austerity in three types of austerity he discusses. One is physical austerity, the other is austerity at the speech level, the third is austerity at the mind level, that is at the thought level. The first he says, Devad Viju Guru Pragnaha Pujanam Shauchamarjavam. What is the physical austerity? Austerity of the body consists in worshipping the God, worshipping the Supreme Lord. Then Dvija, worshipping the Brahmins. Here Brahmins, it is not by birth, who are pure people, the people who maintain purity, who are having a simple life, who are spiritual oriented people, God oriented people, we can take. Deva, Dvija, Guru, the teachers, worshipping them, following them. Pragna, and spiritually realized people, the wise people. Shauchavam, Arjavam, cleanliness. Cleanliness and Arjavam is non-accepting things. All these things comes under physical austerity. Then the second is speech at the, austerity at the speech level. For that, Swadhyaya Abhyasanam Chaiva Vangmayam Tapochyate. We have to keep on studying the scriptures. We should keep on studying the life and teachings of the great people. Maybe Quran, maybe Bible, maybe Vedas, or Upanishads, or any scriptures, or the life and teachings of great people, we should keep on studying. That is Swadhyaya. And Abhyasanam, and it should be practiced also. Simply it is reading or studying is not only enough, we have to put into practice whatever you study. Then Vangmaya, then control over the speech. Vangmayam tapa uchyate. Manaprasada Saumyatvam Maunamatma Vinigraha. Then added to that, Manaprasada, calmness of the mind. Mind can be easily agitated, but have a control over the mind and try to maintain the calmness of the mind. Then Manaprasada Saumyatvam, pleasant. Have a pleasant talk. You can talk very rubbishly and sometimes which can create a problem for others. You can speak with sweet words or with a pleasant words, Saumyatvam. Then Maunamatma. Mauna means it is not observing, silence means it is not talking with anyone. Rather, how much ever is required, only that much you talk. That is called Mauna. Of course, there is also one more meaning, that don't talk with anyone. Completely maintaining silence, completely observing silence. Here, Mauna, silence means it is not talking with anyone, completely stop talking. No, it is how much ever is required, you should speak on. You should, so much only you should speak. This is what the Vang Tapas, that is austerity at the speech level. Then mind austerity or mental austerity is there. What is that? Bhava samshuddhi ityeta tapomanasam uchyate. Control of the mind, purity of emotions, all these things, calmness of the mind, and pleasant appearance. All these things are the part of the mental austerities. So when we practice these things, what happens? Then it is easy to control over the mind. Now, many times we keep on saying, oh Swamiji, how much ever I try, I am unable to control my mind. I am unable to concentrate my mind during my meditation, during my prayers, during my spiritual practice, during my studies. Why? Because we are not practicing any of them. We keep on blabbering, we keep on murmuring, my mind is completely agitated because for silly things. Then if with that agitated mind, how can you expect your mind to be calm, to be peace, and to be controlled? It is not possible. So that's why you can understand now here, yama and niyama is very imperative, prerequisite, and it is very base for the spiritual life. So two things are over, I think, in the niyama. Three things. One is Shaucha, second is Santosha. Shaucha is cleanliness or purity. Santosha is contentment. The third is tapas, austerity we have seen. The fourth is swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means study of the scriptures, like Vedas or Puranas, Upanishads, then Dharma Shastras, Quran, Bible, all the scriptures and the life and teachings of the great people. This is what self study. And also understanding oneself. Swa Adhyaya. Swa means oneself. Adhyaya means study, studying of oneself. Who am I? What is my nature? What are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? Even that is also very important. Knowing one's own personality, knowing one's own strength and knowing one's own weakness, it enables to control mind, to enable it will help us to maintain the relationship with others. And Swadhyaya is also means repetition of the sacred mantras. Like some had have a habit of chanting Omkara, oh, maybe 1000 times, 2000 times, 5000 times, or 108 times, like that. And some they take a Lord's name, Om Namah Shivaya, say for an example. Lord's name. So keep on repeating the Lord's name how much ever is possible, and with a prescribed time in a prescribed way. And afterwards, whenever you can remember, whenever you remember, you can keep on repeating the Lord's name mentally. That is what Swadhyaya. By this, what happens? There will be emotional purity, and mind will get a positive thoughts, and mind will be linked with the higher things. Mind will be linked with the conscious. Mind will be linked with the God. God centered life, consciously living, or mindfulness we speak, all these things are part and parcel achieved by practicing Swadhyaya. That is the reason in the Ramakrishna order, Ramakrishna Mutt and mission, the monks, the senior monks used to prescribe as prescribed for the youngsters, novices. I mean, it is for them if it is for everyone. As much as possible, try to keep on reading daily. Maybe Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads or the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Gospel of Holy Mother, complete works of Swami Vivekananda, or some other scriptures. At least you should study for some an hour or few 2 3 hours at least every day, at least 1 hour. How much ever you are busy, but you should keep studying. And as much as possible, try to do some japa, morning and evening, the prescribed time. And not only that, as soon as you get up with the God-centered life. Pray for God. Let this day be happy and peaceful, and try to remember you as much as possible. And before going to bed, and try to read 1 or 2 pages of Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, and try to do some japam, one bead, one rosary, 2 rosaries, and try to go for do this and sleep. Then whole of your mind will be covered with that holy thoughts. Then when you get up, then your mind is with fresh with the holy thoughts. So that's why it is told again and again. And also, while studying, what happens? It clears our mental blocks. It clears our prejudices. It clears of wrong understandings, wrong notions, cobwebs. I say always. Lot of cobwebs are there in our mind, in our thinking. Because of wrong thinking, we suffer and we make others to suffer sometimes. So all these things can be checked by study and by thinking. Thinking is means contemplation. By doing contemplation on all these things, it is easily achieved by Swadhyaya. Then the last one is Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana is devotion to God, or surrendering oneself, dedicating oneself at the feet of the Lord, and offering the fruits of our every action to the divine, to the Lord. By this, what happens? One is, I will not be bound by this karma phala, the fruits of action. No fresh accumulation will be there, so that to experience it, I need not to take one more birth or more new births. That's the one thing. And second thing, when I practice karma yoga, I think if you have attended my karma yoga lectures, you'll be knowing all these things. When we practice karma yoga, what happens? We get purification of the mind. Self-abnegation is achieved, then moksha or mukti or realization, self-realization or samadhi also is achieved. That's why there's a beautiful prayer. Kamato akamato vapi yat karomi shubham tat sarvam tvayi vinyasya tat prayuktah karomyam. The meaning goes like this. Whatever I do with desires or unwillingly, or good or bad actions, I shall offer the fruits of all the actions at your feet. Oh God, please guide me in right way, in right direction. See what a beautiful prayer. Whatever I do with desire or without desire, willingly or unwillingly, or good action or bad action, let me offer all the fruits of all these actions at your feet. Please guide me properly. Please guide my intellect properly. Let me have a discrimination. Let me have viveka. These are very important, these things. So that's a beautiful prayer. And also, a person who is a man of action, if he performs this action properly and if he offers the fruits, that itself is enough. Nay, for an example, in a present day, many of us we feel, oh, we are very busy, Swamiji, we are busy of at work. Fine. You do your work, maybe in your IT field or in your medical field or engineering, or you are a solicitor, that is lawyer, or, or artist, whatever action you are doing, materialistic action may be for your bread and butter, but try to practice it as a karma yoga, surrender the fruits at the feet of Lord, then that will become worship. Then you can be a greatest karma yogi. From that you can achieve you can attain even the Lord also. That is beautifully has been explained. I think there's a beautiful story which comes. Once Narada, a celestial sage Narada, went to Narayana. Lord Narayana said, look, you are thinking that you are the great devotee, but there is a devotee who is on the earth. He is much more devoted than you. Lord Narayana was amazed, and he was also probably felt a bit jealous of it. How is it that the whole of my life I have dedicated at your feet, and morning to evening I always keep on remembering you, Narayana, 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 Om Namo Narayana. How can there be any person? There may be a good devotee, but how can be a devotee who is much more greater than me? I don't think. Or how is it possible? Then Lord Narayana says, you go and examine yourself. Then he goes to that particular farmer's village or his hut. At morning, as soon as he gets up, he finishes his ablutions and he lights a lamp at the Lord's picture, and he just pray for a minute or so, and he shows his respect, and he comes back and he goes whole day working in the land. And in middle he eats, he takes some food, he takes little rest, and he whole day will be working in the land, in his fields. Then evening he comes back, he washes, he cleans his body, and again he goes and in front of God's picture, again he prostrates and he thanks the Lord, and he probably 1 or 2 minutes he does some prayer, then he eats his supper, dinner, then he sleeps. That's what is was routine. Then Nanda started feeling, what is this? Narayana, whether he's joking, was he kidding with me? Was he joking with me, Lord Narayana? The whole day I'm thinking about Lord, and this fellow morning once, evening once only is thinking, then how can he be a greatest devotee? Then he went and he asked Narayana, Lord, are you kidding with me? Are you joking with me? How can he be? Only 2 times, morning once and evening once, he remembers you. And whereas I'm remembering you again and again, every time, every moment, how can he be the great devotee? Then Narayana said, okay, now you take up his role, then let us see. Then he becomes a farmer just like him, and he starts following his routine. Slowly, he forgets Narayana. At least this poor farmer used to remember twice, morning once and evening once. And this Narada, even he had forgotten, because whole day used to work and used to tired. As soon as he cleans his body, eat, and used to sleep off. Morning, as soon as he get up, he may remember, he may not remember, used to rush towards field. After some days, then Lord Narayana appears and asked, Narada, what happened? Then Narada, he was astonished. Oh my God, I had forgotten you totally. Then he said, look, he's in the world. He has got a lot of responsibilities. But still, in spite of that, with all devotion, dedication, with all sincerity, morning and evening, he was remembering me, and whatever work he was doing, he was offering that fruits of action mentally towards me. That is the reason I told, with all his responsibilities, he's able to think me 2 times and offer the fruits of action towards me. That's the reason he's a great devotee. You may be day in and day out, you are thinking about me, no doubt, but you don't have any other work because thinking of me only, because you have dedicated your life, you are a monk or you are a sage. I mean, the idea is, even how much ever is possible during the work, if you can remember the God and offer the fruits of action to the feet of the Lord, then that can be the greatest worship. And by that alone, one can attain Lord, one can attain Samadhi or God realization or self realization. So, Ishvara Pranidhana is very, very important. By Ishvara Pranidhana alone, one can attain Samadhi. Savikalpaka Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we all speak in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Savikalpaka Samadhi, that can be attained by Ishvara Pranidhana, this one alone, by practicing dedication or devotion towards Lord or God or Supreme Spirit or Divine. But in, I think, Yoga Yajnavalkya is one of the ancient scripture. Yajnavalkya mentions about 10 parts, 10 limbs for niyama. Tapas, that is austerity. Santosha, contentment. Then astikya, faith in the Lord. Dhanam, that is helping the people, giving alms. Ishvara pujanam, worshipping the Lord. Then siddhanta shravanam, hearing the scriptures. Then rihi, modesty. Then japaha, japa is repeating the Lord's name, and vratam, taking some resolves or following some resolves. And some like this 10 list is been given by Niyama, by Yajnavalkya. But there is a beautiful, interesting these things. By practicing this Niyama, what will happen? If one practice 12 years, ahimsa, what happens? If someone practice 12 years satya, practicing the truth in word, speech, thought, and deed, speech, thought, and deed, what happens? By practicing 12 years absolute celibacy, what happens? They will get a lot of powers. What that powers they get, and how it is useful for them or for the society. These things, and about asana and pranayama and pratyahara, we shall try to see in our next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.